Welcome to episode 110 of the Muck Podcast, a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Listen in as we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics. I'm Tina Jaramillo.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
Hillary.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
The world is going crazy.
This is news?
I know.
I mean, I saw the funniest thing, and I'm sure that you saw it this week, but, so this thing came out in Miami. The Florida Republican Party was going to old folks' homes, right? Nursing homes. Have you seen this?
I don't think I've seen this.
Oh, this is fantastic. They were going to old folks' homes, knocking on doors of voters. You know, you can go to any supervisor of elections office and get voter information.
Right.
And you can get somebody's name, their address, their phone number.
They went to like the villages or something?
How they're registered. So they went to it looks like these communities. It's like a nursing home.
Oh, okay, like Century Village.
They knocked on their doors and they said, "Hey, would you like to update your voter registration?" And the person's like, "Okay." But what they didn't know is that the person who was updating the registration changed their party affiliation. So lifelong Democrats.
No!
Lifelong Democrats.
And now they can't vote primaries?
Were changed to Republican Party.
Is this illegal? Who's going to jail?
It's not legal at all. It needs to be investigated, like, right now.
What?
And
the primaries are coming up.
These people are flipped the fuck out.
Wow.
And because they got their new voter registration and it says Republican, and they're like, what?
Oh my God.
Now, there's a couple points here that I really want to make.
Oh my God.
The first one is this.
They're manipulating older people.
There's so many, because of the last state legislation, the session, they made voting harder here.
Right.
There used to be where you could put your ballot in a drop box.
Right.
And you could just walk away. Like, you got your vote by mail and you drop it off. Well, that's not allowed anymore. They're taking all the drop boxes away, and you can only bring it to one drop box, which is at the supervisor of elections office
during a certain time period, too.
Yes, and there's somebody, and then the supervisor of elections office has to have somebody manning that.
Right, has to be standing outside.
Okay.
I think it'd be with an umbrella in the rain.
Yeah, and it's very difficult too because
they have other work to do.
But also people who don't have transportation.
Yeah.
Like, a mail-in ballot is for people who can't leave their homes, who work 3 or 4 jobs, and it's a convenient way to get people to vote.
Right.
Right? Which is what the point is. The point is that we get to have a voice.
Yeah.
And they're trying to suppress that, right? So they changed those rules here in Florida. And another thing is, we're about to do a voter registration training because we have to do that as part of the work that we do in the caucus that we're in. And one of the new rules that they tell us at this voter registration is, as a third party who's registering voters,
it may not.
You
get
have
there.
to tell. Yeah. One of the rules is you have to tell the person you go up to people like, "Hey, would you like to update your voter registration?" Right? You have to tell them, like, "I just want you to know this might not get to the supervisor of elections office." Like, we have to pre-warn them of our incompetence before we take their voter registration. And then that's going to
make people go, "Well, never mind then."
And if somebody said that to me, I'd be like, "Well, then I don't want you to do this."
Yeah,
right?
You're going to mess up my vote.
It's another way to discourage people.
Oh my God.
From updating their voter registration.
My God.
So there's a lot of things happening here to keep people from voting. In a free state where where after the last election, DeSantis said it was the most perfect election process, which, by the way, for Florida, believe me, it fucking was.
It was.
And Broward, where we always have problems, Joe Scott fucking killed it.
Yes.
And everything was great. So, like, I don't understand why this is happening.
It's power and control.
But here's my other roundabout point, which is what, when I read the article, I was like, well, that's interesting, because what that says to me, now, it's illegal what they're doing. Whoever's knocking on these doors, they have to sign those forms in. I've dropped off forms.
Go find.
When we were doing voter registration for Women's March Broward,
oh my God,
I would have to bring those forms within so many days. You have to bring them into the supervisor of elections office. You drop them off, they count them, they look at them, they're like, okay, this one's good, this one's not, whatever. And you sign a thing saying, "Here, I dropped these off." My name is signed in. Right. So whoever dropped those forms off where they illegally changed
should be able to
party,
easily trace this.
They're going to be able to find it.
Oh, please send somebody to jail.
But what is hilarious to me is this, that the Florida Republican Party, they're right now have a record. They're now out registering voters more than Democrats, which is incredible. Yeah. But they have a plan, whether it's illegal or not. They got together. With their knucklehead. The knuckleheads got together and
they're like, "This is where we need to target."
Yeah, here's what we can do, right? Yeah.
And we're twiddling our thumbs.
That's right. The Florida Dems have no plan.
Like, I
read it and I go, well, I said, at least they're getting more voters.
Yeah,
like,
give me a break. Give me a break.
I was
sick of the Florida
Like,
Democrats.
the plan is horrible, and it's disgusting, and it's really taking advantage of people, like these older folks. It's not fucking okay.
Right. No, it's not okay. But
my God.
And I know, like, in Broward, there have been, like, these weekends of people going out, which is good. But we need a strategy, and I wish that there was some strategy, some plan. Like, I would love to go to the Broward Dems meeting and hear about a clear plan.
I can't even believe you still go to those meetings. God bless you, Tina, because I could not sit through one of those fucking meetings to save my goddamn life. Fuck that. Fuck that. Anyway, I thought that was a very interesting story, and
it's crazy.
It's crazy, and it's interesting. But if this is something we now know about, what is happening that we don't know? Like, what is the party doing that we don't know?
And what other people are they targeting?
Yeah.
My God.
Here's another thing. I put a tweet out this week because the 15-week abortion ban has passed one of the committees in the Senate. And the Senate Majority Leader for the Dems is Senator Lauren Book, who I've talked about on here before. But anyway, this is where she comes in handy. My good Judy, Lauren Book. Here's where she comes in handy. This girl, this beautiful lady, she comes in with amendments. So she tries, because of the 15-week abortion ban, what she tries to do is add amendments to the bill.
To keep protecting.
To protect. So, like, okay, here's this awful fucking bill, but she tried to add an amendment in the Senate that said, rape, incest, that's not, you can't stop a woman or a girl.
Or a child.
Who has been raped or is from a victim of incest or rape. This should not apply to her.
Correct.
This 15-week thing should not apply to her, right?
Correct.
She's been traumatized.
Correct.
Her body has been fucking attacked.
Yes.
So let's not fucking put a limit on when the fuck she can get rid of this disgusting fucking person's baby that's in fucking side of her.
Yeah,
fucking rip it out.
Fetus.
I don't care. I'm saying baby. I don't give a fuck. Fetus, baby. Get it the fuck out of my body. But she's been fucking traumatized. For the rest of her life, she will be. And now we're going to further traumatize her as the state of Florida. So she tries to add this amendment. It doesn't fucking get added. It doesn't get passed.
Because they don't care about women. They don't care about children. All they care about is their little narrative that they are cultivating.
Well, it's very upsetting.
And it's the small group of people that they want. You know, between that and I want to talk about some of the anti-education bills that are not only in Florida but across the state. This is and it all comes. The common denominator is religion.
Yes,
the common denominator is religion, and I'm sorry, but enough already.
Yeah,
enough. Get rid of everything. Get rid of it.
I
don't understand why. Religion has infiltrated every aspect of our lives, and we are not all Christian. It's insane. And I wanted that Can't Say Gay bill. I wanted to talk about Nick Harris.
Oh my God,
because
powerhouse!
She gave this amazing speech at this rally. It was a Safe Schools rally. They gave out these shirts. These it's okay to say gay shirts, and she said, I don't want to quote her, and she was quoting someone, but she says that we ask for your time, your treasure, your talent, and your testimony. And she said, this time we need all of it. Yeah. It's not just one of those four things. We need everything. Give everything that you can, because it's like everyone's in danger. And that Don't Say Gay bill, they had children come up. Kids from high school come up and talk about how important it is for them to feel safe.
Yes.
And the idea that if a child talks about something at school and then they can be outed to parents who will put them through conversion therapy or some other thing, and you're putting children's lives at risk, that they could, the suicide rate and things like that are high for these kids who are at risk, who don't have a safe place. What kind of people who are supposed to be Christian would put children at risk? You want to save babies, but there are living, breathing children who need help and support.
Yeah.
And the other, oh God, she just is so powerful, Nick Harris.
My God.
And I said to her, I go, please run for please. And we've said it before, like, I will jump on a train, like, I will follow her wherever she goes.
She's incredible. Not only is that, let me say something else about Nick Harris. She's incredibly kind.
Oh my God.
Like, I've heard her throw shade behind closed doors, right? Like, you talk to her, she'll be like, oh, this person, whatever. Or this, whatever's happening in the state, whatever.
Right.
But in the constructive way, like we talk about Republicans. That's what I mean.
Yes.
But she's also incredibly kind. Like, I've never heard a bad word. Like, she's just so fucking good. Kind. She's a good person. She is exactly who we need.
She's what we need. She is what we need. But I was just like, please, like I said, I went home. I told my husband, I'm like, wherever the train is, throw me on the train. I'm going with her wherever she goes. Oh my God. So the other bills I wanted to talk about were, and I have them on a little note here because I didn't type them out. But of course, we have the Don't Say Gay bill, the anti-woke bill in Florida. But then we have in Oklahoma. This guy, Rob Standridge, Republican, put forward a bill that would incur a $10,000 fine for anyone who teaches science that is contradicts someone's religious belief. So, like, if someone wants to believe that Adam rode on a dinosaur, and the science class is talking about, evolution, that could, they said it's the Religious Belief Protection Act. It could, bother that child, and a fine. There could be people could sue. That there could be a fine in place on teaching. It's like science. What is and then we have Tennessee, that school board with the banning of the books, and then that crazy preacher burning books, like in America. Like, it's like, do you not see like Nazi Germany when they're burning books and like, this is where we are? I told my son, I said, every book that you see on a banned book list, you go out and read every single one of them. Yeah. God, it's disgusting. Like, this is like, and I was like, is this indoctrination? Like, what is the purpose besides completely abolishing the public school system? Because in Florida, a lot of the people behind some of this stuff are the charter school system. Right. And so they have a vested interest in destroying the public schools because they want that money. You have that crazy Betsy DeVos who wanted private schools to be considered public, which I don't understand how that's even possible. Like, it's what are we going to do for kids who are in school and they cannot hear things about Black history? They cannot have anything LGBTQ stated. They can't read books. Like, they can't learn about Nazi Germany. Like, I don't understand. Like, what are we doing? Well, this is like a weird state-controlled fascist regime. I retweeted something this week, and I'm so sorry that I can't remember this person's name. I'd look it up right now, but I'm lazy as fuck. But he's another Black state legislator in the House, and it was about the critical race theory bullshit, and he was like, if a teacher is asked a question at teaching this in school, like, they're not going to be able to answer the question. Like, what are teachers supposed to do? Well, we're answering the question. Guess what? When they pass that bill, guess what shirt I'm wearing to school the very next day? Guess what shirt? You're good. This is the shirt I'm wearing. They can throw me out. I don't care. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that back. I need my insurance, but I don't care. I'm glad you brought it back to that, because I was going to say that when we were discussing this in the Trans Inclusive Allies meeting about these bills, and I was thinking about my daughter was taught by an openly gay man in 6th grade who became one of her favorite teachers ever. Right. He's an incredible man, but he was very open about who he was, that he has a partner, blah 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 blah, and it's a positive gay man out at school. Right. This is a role model for children. That person also, who feels safe to be who he is, would be put back in the closet with this bill. That's what we're doing. We're trying to go backwards. We have had, since the 80s, slowly through the 90s, people coming out of the closet to be open in who they are, to be loved by their families and accepted. And now we're going to take that back? And that's what we want to do? As someone who's been in education almost 20 years in the high school level, I have seen the shift too of kids being more comfortable being openly gay in the classroom. That's the thing, and it's a beautiful thing. I love it. I said, it's like, here are all of my kids, and now these same kids have to be afraid. When I was telling my daughter about this bill, she said, "Kids, we don't care about this. They don't. They are open about who they are. Yes, like that's the thing." The people making the laws are bigoted, homophobic pricks and religious lunatics. Yes. The children and who this is going to affect, this generation that's coming up that we are raising, they don't care about LGBTQ labels. No. They don't care. They talk openly. Someone goes, "I'm gay, I'm bi." About it. Yeah, they say, "I'm gay, I'm bi." They go, "Okay, great. What are you eating peanut butter and jelly for lunch?" Like, nobody gives a fuck. No, it's not a thing. Thank God. And that's why, when this generation, the majority of this generation that feels that way, starts to come into power,
they will back this shit. It's going to take another generation.
And now we're behind 20 years again.
Yes, that's right.
So just, I don't even know.
But we got to get into these stories. But
okay.
The last thing I'll say is this. We can't do anything unless we win. So unless you want to go to some nursing homes and change some voter registrations this weekend, like we have to win.
God, I'm thinking nursing homes too. Like how many of those people who might be suffering from, even if it's a slight dementia or other things where they aren't looking closely at the card that came in, or it's not good. It is so. Yeah, it's really. It's again. You want to protect children, and we talk about we want to protect our older. Who wants to harm an old person? And you're harming old people and children. Like, what? This is your party?
This is going to come back up.
This is your party.
This is going to come back up.
If you want to harm old people, go after Mitch McConnell first in that turkey neck.
Ooh. Dolly and shit.
Oh, yeah. Okay, wait. Josh.
Yeah, Josh. Where are you?
Josh.
Where's our drawings? We need our drawings of Salvador Dali McConnell.
Oh, my God. That's like
Girl. I also, before you start your story, I also want to say this. My mom was like, I went to the YouTube channel and checked it out. I was like, oh, God. Your daughter's a fucking hot mess. Oh, yeah. Except she said this. I was watching it and I thought, that can't be her Christmas tree in the background.
Oh, my God. I said to my husband this morning.
I almost took it down last night.
I said, my favorite part of YouTube is seeing the Christmas tree in the background. And he's like, what? He goes, no. I said, no, it's the best thing ever. I said, it makes me so happy. And he's like, you guys are nuts, basically.
No, I'm taking it down tomorrow. I promise.
Oh.
I almost took it down last night.
I feel like it's tradition now.
No, but now I have my mom's voice in the head like, that can't be her Christmas tree. And I was like, oh, God, Mom. I go, I'm busy. She was like, girl. All right, you are first.
Okay.
Yes.
Whew. All right, today I'm going to tell you the story of civil rights activist Medgar Evers.
Oh my God! Yes, Tina.
Oh, this story.
Yes, so good.
Yes, it's so terrible.
Yes, but.
And then, okay, so Medgar Evers started his work as a civil rights activist in the 1950s and eventually became a leading figure in Mississippi. But when Evers is assassinated, his death ends up actually galvanizing the movement. And it's just, this story is a terrible, upsetting story.
Yes.
Top to bottom.
Yes.
So our story takes place in Mississippi, which is like the deep south. And I got most of the background for this from the Medgar Evers College pages. So the Medgar Evers College has like all of this extensive background on him. So I'm going to give you the highlights, but go check out the page. It'll be in our notes. And you can read like the full bio and get a lot more details than I'm providing. But he was born in 1925 in Mississippi. And because he's in the South during Jim Crow and born at the height of the Klan's power, he faced and witnessed racism daily. Like, that was his life, right? And the college site notes that at just 12 years old, like the age of our children, so a family friend ends up being lynched, and the man's bloody clothing hung on a fence for all to see for more than a year.
Jesus.
And imagine, like, this is someone that is close to you, and you have to look at that day after day for a year.
So
a year, and that Wyatt Outlaw. That's what it reminded me of.
You can't really take the clothes down because they'll come after you if you take the stuff down. It's like this form of intimidation.
Right. And that was in episode 106, Wyatt Outlaw.
Yeah.
So then as a teen, he witnessed these roving white gangs patrolling the streets of his neighborhood, and they were looking for anyone black that they could harm or like run down with their cars. So here we are now, as a child witnessing these acts of violence, as a teenager being afraid and seeing off in the distance like that these white kids are and young adults are moving as a pack to harm people.
And it's so funny because it's not funny, but I know that they knew that they wouldn't get in trouble if they did some harm. But like, if you knew you could get away with murder, right,
and
or severely beating someone almost to death or whatever, would you go out and do it?
Yeah.
Like, there's a psychopath kind of fucking way of thinking where you're like, of course it is. It's also when you're in a pack, right? Like, there's that pack mentality.
The mob mentality.
That thing, like, when you're together. And but if you were able, someone said, you could, murder's legal, you can go murder. Yeah. Would you be roaming looking for it? There's something fucking else wrong.
You know, now that you're saying
maybe they're poor and, like, have not, you know, they're angry. Like, I don't know. They're racist, obviously.
They're racist, obviously.
But, like, Jesus.
I feel like the irony of it all is that, you know, the whites at the time using language that is dehumanizing when really they're the ones who lack humanity. Yes. It's so gross. And the trauma of this existence is unfathomable. Like, I'm a white person.
Yeah.
And, like, I cannot wrap my brain around, like, this day-to-day fear and growing up in a constant level of fear.
Yes.
It has to be traumatic, and then that trauma is passed down and passed down. It's just...
Oh, my God.
So, when the state of Florida wants to put forward these anti-woke bills to prevent folks from being uncomfortable with stories like this, I feel like, too bad. We need to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We need to deal with it, because guess what? Somebody's grandfather was in that roving gang.
That's right.
Right? Somebody's great uncle, some other relative is riding around carousing about in these white gangs. And we need to acknowledge that and say, look, your grandfather was this person. Your uncle was that person. And, like, you can have a choice to be like that or do something else. Mm-hmm. But if you want to just hide away and pretend like none of this happened, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We people are complicit, and we're not moving forward as a country.
No, they're getting elected and making laws.
And it's just like, it's not about making some white kid feel terrible. Like, it's not like that's the intention. Like, we're going to go in and we want to make all the white kids feel bad. Like, that's not what anyone is trying to do. But if someone feels bad and you're acknowledging the role of white action and white inaction, then you're learning something. You're learning empathy. Like, I don't get it.
My daughter talks about this in history, and, like, this is the things that white people did in a way that's like, this was a terrible thing that white people did. She doesn't feel guilty about it. Right. She's like, yo, this is fucked.
Yes.
You know, we did fucked up things as white people.
Yes. And we need to own that.
Yeah, it's okay to say that and not feel like you owned a slave. But you have to acknowledge that this happened, and it has been a wave that has continued to roll for fucking
destroying our
hundreds
country.
Of years. Yes. We're still killing black people on the fucking streets. I
mean, come on.
Ahmaud Arbery, they just fucking, thank God, found these people guilty. And people are shocked by that. Oh. Why are you shocked? They literally were a gang roaming the fucking streets. That literally just happened last year.
They did the same thing. And my favorite part is, I want to say it's Missouri. I can't remember the state off the top of my head, but they have now, in reaction to the Arbery case and in reaction to Rittenhouse, Missouri, I believe it's Missouri, and I could be wrong in the state, is putting forward a bill that is sort of escalating a stand your ground. Where in the past, stand your ground, the onus is on the person who has killed someone. The onus is on them to prove, like, this was self-defense. Now it's just like, it was self-defense, and, like, the police can investigate whether it is. They can't be arrested. It's like all of these additional protections to protect people like those assholes.
Yeah.
This is their reaction.
Yeah.
Instead of doing something
legalizing
else, instead of
murder.
trying to dismantle all of this,
we're legalizing it.
It's
fucking Trayvon Martin, hunted and gunned. You know,
a baby.
Come on.
So Evers ends up dropping out of high school, and despite growing up in an area surrounded by local racist whites, he wanted to still have a successful life, right? Like, he was like, I want to get out. But he did what a lot of people do to get out, and he joined the U.S. Army along with his older brother, and he fought in World War II.
Wow.
And he was placed in a segregated unit, but he did go and he fought, and he was in France. And the site notes that many blacks remained in France after the war because they were treated more equally than in the States. But they cite Evers as saying to his brother, quote, when we get out of the Army, we're going to go straighten this thing out. You know, like, even from that age, he's like, okay, this is happening here. We're going to go fix things so that maybe things can be like that in the States, right? Why do people have to flee their country?
Yeah, think about all the black writers who left and went to Paris.
Yeah, the expats. I mean, So he was honorably discharged from the Army 3 years later. He went to college where he studied business and met and later married his wife, Merle Beasley, in December 1951. So after his marriage, he moved to a town called Mound Bayou, Mississippi. And the utter destitution and lack of opportunity for blacks in this area upset him. So he ends up joining the NAACP because he's like, I want to make a difference. And just what I love about this story and what I love about this guy is, you know, he had his degree. He was like selling insurance. He was doing well. And he could have just continued to build a life for himself and like not think about other people who didn't have that opportunity that he was able to forge for himself. But instead, he recognizes a problem, and instead of just existing within the parameters of like these social constructs, he's like, I'm going to do something to make a change. And I'm like, that it's just fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and he makes like this huge difference. He started the local NAACP chapters throughout his state. He organized boycotts of gas stations that refused service to blacks.
Jeez.
And it's his ability to like organize that proves to be very powerful, and he was able to bring folks together and create this like consolidated front, and it's just incredible. National Geographic reported that in 1946, at just 21 years old, Evers wanted to vote, so he headed to Decatur, Mississippi, the courthouse there, and when he got there, he faced a mob of white men.
Oh, God.
National Geographic reported that many of them were guys that he grew up with, and they heard that he wanted to vote, and they went there to stop them. They were armed and threatened him. And reflecting on the incident, Evers wrote in his autobiography, quote, I made up my mind that it would not be like that again. So again, like he goes in, he's trying to do something, he's stopped, and he's like, he doesn't let it shut him down. You know, he keeps going.
I don't know what that's like. I don't know what that's like.
No, I mean,
I've already given up. I'd have been like, France, I'm here.
Yeah, bye.
Never going back. Like, fuck that shit.
I mean, he's incredible. So, and he's young, and he's just like, no, this is wrong. According to the college site, in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education outlawed segregation in schools, so Evers put the new law to the test, and he applies to the University of Mississippi Law School, and he is denied.
Oy.
National leaders of the NAACP were impressed with Evers' action through that, and they appointed him field secretary for Mississippi. So he's like moving up in the NAACP and in sort of these like political arenas to make change. And Evers, he's just incredible. So the NAACP writes that Evers' public investigations into 2 high-profile incidents garnered him more attention. The first was the lynching of the poor, innocent 14-year-old child, Emmett Till, and the other was the 1960 conviction of a black civil rights activist, Clyde Kennard. So he was very vocal and just, he pushes and pushes and pushes, and so this is giving him more attention, and his activism just continues to grow.
Yeah.
He moves to Jackson, Mississippi, where he opened an NAACP office. He organized boycotts there. He helped James Meredith gain admission to the University of Mississippi.
Nice.
He also bailed out folks, organized marches and vigils, registered people, recruited folks to the cause. And Evers had this to say about remaining in Mississippi, according to the SNCC Legacy Project out of Duke University. Because again, he could leave, right? But he says, quote, I am anchoring myself here for better or for worse. I hope better. But if worse comes, I'll be in the middle of it.
Wow.
Like, wow. Like, he's like, I am here for the fight. Let's go.
It's incredible.
Let's go.
It's incredible.
So Evers' activism continued, again, to garner that attention, both good and bad. So there are people that are like, oh, this guy's incredible. Like, he's going to be a leading figure in this movement. Like, he has it, like, not everybody has it. This guy has it.
Yeah.
But he also became, a target.
Right.
From, because he's in Mississippi, the Klan has its roots there, and they are fully aware of him, and they're fully aware of the power that he is wielding in this state.
God.
And, white supremacists don't like folks trying to make change that could impact their power and authority. So as a result, Evers is under constant threat. Constant threat. So much so.
Well, he already knows what that's like. That's how he's lived his whole life. It's not different than when he was a kid.
Well, it was, they had like an FBI detail, like with him all of the time.
Wow.
Because he was always under threat. And his home in 1963 was firebombed. His home.
Fuck.
His home. And it reminds me of that scene from Michael Corleone where he's like, in my home, where my wife sleeps, where my children come and play with their toys. And like, yes, he's a gangster and this is not a correlation. But the idea of you're coming to my home where my family is. Yeah. Like, it's one thing you want to have something with me. But to attack a home where there are children and other people in his family.
That's the point, though, right? That's the ultimate fear. The ultimate fear is
we're going to scare you that your family's going to be in danger.
That's
and some people will say,
you love the
enough.
most. Right. It's like the worst of the villains of superheroes. You can't superheroes.
And how cowardly.
Again, this is a stupid comparison, but like, Spider-Man, they can't have loves because that's exactly the villain's going to go after, right? Yes. And that's what they know. They know that bombing the NAACP office isn't going to fucking really scare you.
Right, but
they're going to show you that they can kill your children.
House. And this is his family. And again, it's cowardly. Like, what kind of person does this to children?
But even the desperation of the white, this KKK, of like, they're so how far they're willing to go,
right? And they're so afraid of this
protect
one man.
Their power and not let someone who looks different than you, have any sort of voice. Really, it's like they're willing to murder for that.
They're willing to murder. They're willing to fireball
for them.
And Evers, he understood this risk and he dealt with it, but he also, according to National Geographic, they reported that he also had to train his children on what to do if they heard gunshots. And it was, quote, crawl to the bathroom on the floor, then hide in the bathtub. So like army crawl, you hear something, army crawl, you get in that tub and like that's where you're safe. Like that they had to do this to their children to keep them safe. That's
what we do with our children now in school. Here's what you do if you're a shooter.
Yeah, go hide in the corner.
Fuck.
So the major incident. The FBI website notes that on the night that JFK gave his address on civil rights, Evers returned home late after an NAACP meeting. And as I noted, he was constantly in danger. And the FBI website reported that around 12:30 a.m., as Evers was walking toward his home, he was struck in the back by a bullet from an Enfield rifle. In the back.
So a cowardly,
in the most cowardly way you can attack someone.
From far away.
And then after being struck, he's trying to like crawl and make his way to the front door. And his family is inside. So meanwhile, his wife and kids were still up after listening to JFK's speech. Like they stay up, they listen to this speech on civil rights. And then he's like shot, like, So they heard the shot, and according to Evers' daughter, Rena, who was 8 years old, this makes me like so sad.
I'm already crying. Like it's over. Forget it.
She and her brothers went into protection mode. They army crawled like their dad taught them. But then, as reported by NPR, she said, quote, "We stopped and ran down the steps and begged our father to get up." Like, it's like these babies had to see their father in that way. And it gets worse. It gets worse. So an article in The Witness reported that Evers' last words on the way to the hospital were, "Sit me up, turn me loose." Like,
oh my God, like wanting to fight.
Yeah. National Geographic article reports upon arriving at the hospital, he was turned away. What? Because it was an all-white hospital.
Oh my God, you're fucking kidding me.
No. They had to beg to have him admitted, and then they finally do, and he died a few hours later. Like, this is a man who is regardless if he's an activist or not, this is a human being who has been shot, and like his family is like, please, and they're like, sorry, this is an all-white hospital, go somewhere else.
What in the
and then like you're watching your loved one suffer and die, and you have to then beg for people who are trained to save lives to help him. This is like trauma on top of trauma on top of trauma. Like, how do you do that to people? How do you go to sleep at night? How do you exist?
Because black people are less than them. They're animals almost. They don't even think of them as equal as a human being. That's how they do it. They're okay with turning people away because they're nothing to them.
And I wonder, like, if they would have taken him right away, like, could that? And like, I don't know, like the severity of it, like, you know, like where the bullet struck, and I don't know those details. But my God. I
hate everything. I just hate all of this, you know?
It's All right, so
preventable. You could have stopped it from the first moment the shit started.
The other thing that I couldn't get much information on is, for whatever reason, the FBI detail was not present that night.
Oh, I was going to say this. I was just going to ask that. Where the fuck was the FBI? For whatever reason.
And, like, there's never been, like, any, like, solid, like, oh, this happened. I could not find anything. But all I know is that they, for whatever reason, they were not present that night. So who did it? As Evers was struck, the rifleman who had shot him recoiled as well. And the FBI site explains that the kickback from the rifle shot slammed, so he's like, you know, like as a sniper, he's got the scope, and it slams back and it, boom, hits him in the eye, and he drops the weapon, drops the scope, boom, takes off. Oh. But he leaves behind a fingerprint on the weapon.
Okay.
So after the FBI examines the evidence, a man named Byron De La Beckwith emerges as the prime suspect. After further investigation, they learned that De La Beckwith was asking around for Evers' address in the days leading up to the shooting. And what's more, this guy was a known white supremacist and segregationist. So with all of this...
Ding, ding, ding.
And the nice bruising around his eye, right, it's clear that De La Beckwith is the guy. So the charges. He is charged, of course, with first-degree murder. He pled not guilty. And according to PBS, 2 white cops claim to have seen De La Beckwith 60 miles away in Greenburgh, Mississippi.
Fuck you.
It couldn't have been him.
Go fuck yourself.
We saw him over here. We're upstanding police officers.
Yeah, up your ass.
Give me a break. Piece of shit. So there were 2 trials in the 1960s. And Hillary...
No. Well,
De La Beckwith faced an all-white jury in this time period. So why don't you take a wild guess?
Oh, yeah, he's walking free. Right?
Free as a bird.
Sure, why not? Why not?
So not only that, but the Library of Congress article on Evers noted that the governor of Mississippi at the time, and segregationist Ross Barnett, shook his hand in the courtroom in front of the jury. Like, showed up, shook this man's hand, like, you know, giving approval of him in front of the jury.
What is going on
in front of the jury.
What is going on?
In front of the jury.
What is this?
So one trial ended with a hung jury, and the other ended as a mistrial. And this is why Black History matters.
Yeah.
This is why we need to have these conversations, because you have people who are biased, who lack empathy, who have no understanding of what people have suffered and gone through.
And a justice system.
And this is the 1960s.
On racism.
The 1960s. This is not that far long ago.
Right.
There are people sitting on that jury that could be in people's families.
Yes. Sanctioning murder.
Yes.
It's the state of fucking Mississippi.
And racism doesn't just disappear. Okay. And like the one thing, like in that Florida bill, the anti-woke bill, there's something in there that's like, you know, like when people say like, oh, I'm not racist, I'm colorblind, and you have to say, no, like that's not a thing, like you can't say that, you're not allowed to say that. You're allowed, like, we're all colorblind.
This is a free state of Florida.
We're all colorblind. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't, it's not colorblind. No. There are different cultures and people. That's right. Like, let's, you know, the whole celebrate diversity thing. Come on.
When you say you're colorblind, what you're saying is you're ignoring
the
differences.
You're blind to it. You're blind to it.
You're saying that racism doesn't exist. But, you know, we live in the free state of Florida, according to Governor DeSantis. Where they're actually
dictator DeSantis.
Where the Republicans are writing legislation that will dictate how we're supposed to speak and how we can say and say no, what we can and cannot say. But this is a free state, right?
This is small government Republicans. Republicans better get on board and start really listening to the people they are voting for. Because otherwise you are like, I can't say it any other way. If you have an R by your name and you're voting for these people, you cannot say, oh, well, I really like his policy on blah, blah, blah. If you're voting for him and all of these things are a result of that person, you are a racist too. Full stop, the end.
You're a racist if you didn't leave the party when fucking Donald Trump comes down an escalator to announce his fucking candidacy and says that Mexico is sending rapists and drug dealers here. That was the most racist thing that Donald Trump said.
Or that he could shoot someone at Fifth Avenue and still get elected.
From the fucking podium when he announced his presidency. If you didn't leave the party then, when he became your candidate and got elected, you're a fucking racist. Yes. You're a fucking racist. Full stop. Full fucking stop. And if you didn't fucking come out as a moderate Republican who doesn't like Trump and tell every fucking Republican you know that Trump was a racist and he shouldn't be the fucking president, then you're a racist. If you didn't publicly state that, you're a racist.
And you're complicit.
That's it. You are responsible for where the fuck we are.
Yes. 100%.
Fuck this. And fuck fucking Ron DeSantis. If that mother and this entire fucking Republican legislation that's in fucking Tallahassee.
They're so...
Fuck them all.
Dangerous.
They're willing to fucking
dangerous people.
Sell us down the river. They're willing to sell us down the river our uteruses, black bodies, children, trans folks. They're willing to fucking send us all down the river so they can sit in Tallahassee and have power.
Right.
Fuck
and
you.
make money.
And you know
make
what?
money and let
fuck
the money
everybody around you. Fuck everybody who says they love you. Fuck all of them too. I'm sorry. Anybody who props these I'm spitting. These motherfuckers up. Then fuck all of them. You work for these motherfuckers, fuck you. Yes. You are one of these people, fuck you. You're married to them and don't tell them that they have small dicks, then fuck you. Fuck all of you.
Ditto.
I can't stand this.
No, it's
you
crazy.
Small dick, no fucking confidence in yourself to stand up and say, I'm sorry. I know Mike, I'm not the biggest Mike Pence fan, but this fucking prick gets up in front of the Liberty, I don't know what one of these weird fucking conferences yesterday and says, Trump's wrong.
Yeah.
I never would have overturned this election.
But guess what? Too little, too late, Mike.
Absolutely.
Pence. Too little, too late.
I totally agree.
Behind him.
I totally
with that
agree with you.
Talking to mother in the background.
I totally agree with you. There's never going to be a forgiveness for Mike Pence. No. He sat and went along with all of this so he could have power, right? But he said something. He said something that he said Trump is wrong. Yeah. That's it.
But guess what?
Somebody has to start the fucking ball rolling.
But the base of him, of the Trumpers, they already think Pence is a douchebag. So, like,
whatever.
I don't know.
Maybe it'll give somebody some fucking balls around here. Get some balls. You fucking snowflake pieces of shit.
So one good thing happens through the decades later, and really that's thanks to the staunch support and dedication of Evers' wife. In the 1990s, the FBI page says that she begged and asked investigators to reopen the case and find new evidence, and they did.
Ooh.
This was the better part of the story. So National Geographic reported that the investigation found that this secret organization called the Mississippi State Sovereignty Commission, and this secret commission was made up of, surprise, like white supremacists. But they worked with De La Beckwith's defense team to screen out jurors who may be, quote, sympathetic to civil rights. So that is jury tampering, which means, like you have the whole, double jeopardy. But if they can find that there was something wrong with that trial, then you can retry.
Okay.
So, I just want to talk a little bit more about this Mississippi State Sovereignty Commission. The New York Times reported that this commission tracked all sorts of things about civil rights activists at the time. Things like this is quoting from the article, quote, skin color, associations, religious beliefs, and sexual proclivities of the civil rights workers they tracked. They jotted down the license plate numbers of cars parked at civil rights meetings, peeked into bank accounts. Informants, many of them Black Mississippians, reported to the commission about plans for marches and boycotts. In some cases, the potential for using violence against civil rights workers is discussed in commission memorandums. So this whole thing came out and they found all of this evidence that this was an orchestrated effort to try to take down civil rights activists and leaders in the community. And then they got, unfortunately, moles, I guess, with members of the Black community too to go in, but it was primarily these white supremacists that were doing that. And the article notes that the commission reflected the desire of white supremacists in the state of Mississippi and other southern states to keep segregation no matter what.
Wow.
That is their purpose and goal. Okay? So the investigation also revealed new witness testimony that included witnesses who testified to hearing De La Beckwith boast about killing Evers.
What?
All of this led to a new indictment, followed by a trial in the late 1900s, otherwise known as December 1990 for, because we're old.
Oh, yeah.
In 1994, De La Beckwith was found guilty of murder.
Holy shit.
1994. So, it took 30 years, but his wife was like, we're gonna still go after this guy.
Wow.
So supposedly, according to a PBS article, De La Beckwith was as racist as ever and had this to say, quote, I'm proud of my enemies. They're every color but white, every creed but Christian. disgusting.
How old was he at the time?
I want to say he was in like late 60s, early 70s.
Jesus.
Maybe, yeah. So according to PBS, he was sentenced to life in prison, and Life magazine reported that when Murley heard, I'm hoping I pronounced her name correctly, heard the verdict, she said, "Yes, Medgar."
Oh, baby.
Ugh.
Oh my God.
I know, like the love. So the aftermath, Evers was given full military honors at his funeral, and I found there's photos from the funeral, and it is Evers' wife and his young 9-year-old, and the grief and she's comforting this baby. And it's just, I just keep imagining like the good that he could, like, what could he have done? Yeah. What could he have continued to do in the world?
Yeah. And what he could have accomplished
what have we lost? We've lost so much. You know, how one person can just make this ripple effect through the world, and it was taken away. Yep. He was buried at Arlington National Cemetery, and protests did break out at his funeral procession. So some points of interest. I want to talk, I talked a lot about Evers, but I wanted to note that his wife, Murley, played a strong role in his life and in the movement. And according to the Medgar Evers College site, she made contributions to the movement as, quote, a helpmate, researcher for speeches, hostess, chauffeur, and musician. And she even served as the first chairwoman of the NAACP from 1995 to 1998.
Amazing.
She was received at the White House by JFK and Bobby Kennedy, attended Evers' funeral. And JFK also wrote to her after Medgar's death, and he says, quote, "I extend to you and your children my sincerest condolences on the tragic death of your husband. Although comforting thoughts are difficult at times like this, surely there can be some solace in the realization of the justice of the cause for which your husband gave his life. Achievement of the goals he did so much to promote will enable his children and the generations to follow to share fully and equally in the benefits and advantages our nation has to offer."
Wow. Wow.
And then like shortly after, like he gets killed.
Yeah, his brother gets killed.
So a lot of articles talk about the shirt Evers was wearing the night that he got shot, and that he was holding on to as well. He was walking in with shirts, and they said, "Jim Crow must go."
Oh my gosh.
And several articles, I know, and several articles note that his death was the catalyst for the 1963 March on Washington. In Jackson, Mississippi, a naval ammunition ship and the international airport bear his name, and his house has been turned into a national monument, according to National Geographic. De La Beckwith died in prison in 2001. But get this, prior to his retrial, this jerk actually tried to run for lieutenant governor at one time, and thankfully he failed. Can you imagine? This murderer.
I can't. I don't understand the confidence of white men.
I don't either.
The confidence. The what's it called?
The chutzpah? I don't know.
No. There's like a delusion. Yeah. The delusion of it all.
They're deluded.
He's a fucking murderer.
He's a murderer. But he's going to run.
I mean, it's incredible.
Thank God he lost. The Clarion Ledger reported that one of De La Beckwith's sons claims that his father was innocent and that the killer is still at large. In the same article, Murley Evers' wife states that she believes, quote, "more than Byron De La Beckwith was involved in my husband's assassination."
Oh, totally.
So she understands, like, okay, like he's the person that they got to do this, and there was this orchestrated effort. Yeah. But she also said she didn't know if De La Beckwith's son imagined all of this or not. She's like, look, it is what it is. So the NAACP noted that songs were written regarding this tragedy. Bob Dylan's "Only a Pawn in Their Game." There was another singer-songwriter who wrote Too Many Martyrs and Another Country. The movie The Ghost of Mississippi reenacts the 1994 trial of De La Beckwith. Nina Simone's Mississippi Goddamn. Yes. Writer James Baldwin's I Am Not Your Negro addresses the loss of Evers along with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. And there's also a statue of him on the campus of Alcorn State University, a historically black university in Mississippi. And the thing that I found interesting is this connection to Strom Thurmond, who you did last week. So here we have this pivotal leader in the civil rights movement shot dead, assassinated by a white supremacist in Mississippi. The same night that JFK gives that speech, putting forward what would become the civil rights legislation. And then you have this jerk-off, Thurmond, hold that filibuster. We have this leader has been killed. We have, a president trying to do something. And this guy continued to suggest that there isn't a problem with race in America. And we're right here again. We're with all the voter suppression bills, the anti-LGBTQ bills, the revisionist history bills. We're trapped in a cycle of hate and fear in this country. And the small political base is loud and they vote. And we might have more people. But it doesn't mean shit if everyone's sitting on their fucking couches on election day because it doesn't impact them directly. And it's like that poem, that poem, and I quoted it here, and you know that poem, Then They Came for Me, right? And it's, first they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And when people, like all these Democrats and these liberals and moderates who are like, well, I don't talk politics. Politics don't impact me. Like, your apathy is even worse than the people who are voting these Republicans in, because at least they have something they're believing in, right? But the apathy,
well, they're using their voice. They're using their right
your
to
privilege to sit and not give a shit, to me, is more disgusting at times. Because you think that it's wrong, but you can't do anything to change it. And that to me is terrible. So all of you, get out there and do something. All right.
All right, Tina,
that's the story
this episode
of the assassination of civil rights activist Medgar Evers.
I mean, I was crying before we turned on the microphones. I've been crying on the microphone.
I know. It's a rough episode, but here we are in Black History Month. That should be every month of the year, right? And we relegate it to the shortest month of the year. I don't even know. And it just is awful.
I just wish I didn't have to. I wish I didn't care about any of this too. There's parts of times where I'm just like, I want to be one of those people. I want to be one of those people who's like, all right, I'll vote. Who's running for president?
Yeah.
I literally had this conversation with a friend of mine who's like, oh, he's now into the podcast because it's on YouTube. He's like, where's the other episodes? I'm like, no, we just started doing it. And he's like, do you only talk about politics? And I was like, well, yeah.
Hello,
I'm like,
yes.
That's what the podcast is about. And I said, but, whatever. And he was like, I said, why? You're not into politics? He's like, well, I just see who's running for president. He literally said that. And I was like, okay, well, here's all of the reasons, like, why you should really be into these other things. They directly impact you, these leaders, these state leaders. God. And he's like, it's just not my thing. Sorry.
Well, that's nice.
And he's a sweetheart. And if you watch this, I'm sorry, but I'm going to blast you for a second. But also,
we're not naming names.
Also, like, dude, white passing, like, I don't know. It'd be good if you maybe paid attention because they want to take abortion off the table, bro. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
They're hurting
How
women.
do you feel about that?
They're hurting hurting everyone.
One of my children could be LGBTQ and they're going to put him back in the closet. How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
Your drinking water isn't clean. How do you feel about that?
Your roads aren't going to be... I mean, there's our health care.
Your taxes, your unemployment.
Oh, my God.
Everything you do is based on these people who are on that ballot. Yeah. So how about we start fucking paying attention to that?
I know.
Because I'm tired.
I'm exhausted.
Tired from just even thinking about it.
I'm exhausted.
I don't want to do this. I all those years doing that work, it doesn't make me want to do it more. I want out.
Yes.
I want out. When my time is up on the Dolphins, on the Dolphin Democrats, I'm done. That's it, Tina. I'm doing the podcast and that is it, my friend. And you will carry the torch and have a good time, but I can't do it anymore.
I know. I mean, it's hard work and it's draining work and
again, if we had a party, God, please hear me. The gods in heaven or universe, whatever.
Yes.
If we had a Florida Democratic Party and a Broward Democratic Party that actually had a fucking plan and had money and had an idea of how the fuck we can flip these seats in the next 10 years, maybe I could get behind a plan. Show me something. Show me the fucking way. What's the way? Show me the way. They don't have a fucking plan.
Way.
So you want me to give up my time, treasure, talent?
I know.
To a party that is going to take it all from me and give me nothing in return. There's nothing that we're getting in return, Tina. And these candidates who have won and flipped seats, it's the candidate. Yeah. It's not the party. It's the candidate that fucking does that.
Yes.
And then they get to Tallahassee and they're not given the support.
And they're not supported. They're not supported.
So I am drowning in bad legislation. I'm drowning in despair and hopelessness in this fucking state. And there's nobody's coming to help us.
No one is coming.
We are under the fucking dictatorship of Ron DeSantis and his fucking minions who don't believe in him. They don't believe in him. They don't believe in this legislation.
But they believe in the money that
but they vote for it and they want to hold on to power and fuck you.
Money, and fuck money.
You. That's it. Yeah. So I am sorry. This story is devastating because it's the same as it's always been.
Yeah.
Nothing's
changing. Same as it ever was.
Nothing's changing. It's completely horrible. I don't know. Let me start my fucking story because at least it's a little bit, I don't fucking know anymore. Girl.
All right.
Jesus.
I know, I'm sorry. We have to talk about it though.
No, we do. So today I'm going to tell you about the Petticoat Affair. All right. So this was, and when I say petty, I mean Petty, bitch. Because these ladies are petty. And I saw a whole thing about they called them the Real Housewives of the White House. And they were like these petty ass bitches.
All right, well, this is the story we need to close this.
Oh, we do, because
petty ass bitches.
I'm writing it down.
Yes.
Okay, so the Petticoat Affair was a political scandal involving members of President Andrew Jackson's cabinet and their wives from 1829
all right, that says it
to 1831.
That says it all right there.
Yeah. So remember last week during the Strom Thurmond, I mentioned he went to Clemson, and he was in this like literary club, the Calhoun Literary Club. And I was like, Calhoun sounds like a racist ass name. Well, I looked him up. Well, it turns out he was a bit of a racist.
No surprise
He was a bit of a racist.
No surprise there.
So this scandal, this affair was led by Fluoride Calhoun, which is his wife. Fluoride. I'm saying Fluoride. Maybe it's Fluoride.
Whatever. That's what I was thinking.
Apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. Everybody was looking at her. She got the flow. Low. That's the clip, Tina. That's the singing clip this week. So Fluoride Calhoun, wife of Vice President John C. Calhoun, these women, dubbed the Petticoats, were socially ostracized Secretary of War John Eaton and his wife Peggy Eaton over disapprovals of the circumstances surrounding their marriage and what they deemed her failure to meet the moral standards of a cabinet wife.
Oh God! What? Did she open her mouth?
Right. So this affair rattled the entire Jackson administration and eventually led to the resignation of all but one of his cabinet members. This is how fucking shady this shit gets, right?
Wow.
So the ordeal facilitated Martin Van Buren's rise to the presidency and was in part responsible for Vice President Calhoun's transformation from a nationwide political figure with presidential aspirations into a sectional leader of the southern states. So he basically gets booted. So a little bit about Margaret Peggy Eaton. She was the eldest daughter of William O'Neill, owner of the Franklin House, a boarding house and tavern located in Washington, D.C., a short distance from the White House, that was well known as a social hub popular with politicians and military officials, right?
Okay, so that's where they...
Yes, everybody hangs out there. Yeah.
People stay when they come in town.
Yeah. Okay. So she worked there, and she was a well-educated woman for the era. She studied French and was was known for her ability to play the piano. William T. Barry, who later served as Postmaster General, wrote, quote, of Peggy, quote, of a charming little girl who very frequently plays the piano and entertains us with her agreeable songs, end quote.
Oh, God, that's annoying.
As a young girl, her reputation had already begun to come under scrutiny because of her employment in a bar, frequented by men, as well as her casual bantering with the boarding house's clientele. Right?
I like her.
She's a little bit feisty.
I love this.
She likes to have a good time,
Why
right?
not?
Listen, it was her parents' place. She worked there. She talked to the customers. What did you
She's seeing some cute people.
Yeah.
She's like, hi,
she's playing the place. She's singing.
Français.
Yeah.
Ooh.
What is that?
Do you speak French?
No, I was going to say...
I never can say it. C'est moi, c'est moi. I don't know.
It sounds better in the song.
Yes.
So in her later years, Peggy reminisced, saying, quote, "While I was still in pantalettes and rolling hoops with other girls, I had the attention of men, young and old, enough to turn a girl's head." End quote.
Hi.
So she was like, "Hey, bitch, hey.
Look at me with my little, what did she say? Her little... Her
pantalettes.
Oh, a pantalette.
And ring hoop skirts.
Can I have a pantalette? What is that? Is that like a riding pants? Like,
I
don't,
I don't know.
Were they wearing pants then?
I don't think so.
A pantalette.
Yeah, maybe. I have no idea.
Bring it back.
So, yeah. Can we just bring... I want to wear... Just cover me head to toe.
You know who could bring that Taylor Dory? I bet you she could make a cute pantalette.
She makes the cutest clothes.
Yes.
And every time she does a drop, it's gone before I can buy something.
She could... I bet you she would.
Taylor Dory. Go look her up on Instagram. She's Bluebird's wife.
Yes.
Amazing.
Fashion designer.
Incredible.
So cute.
So fucking cute. So when Peggy was 15 years old, her father intervened to prevent her to attempt to elope with an army officer.
Oh.
And in 1816, when she was 17 years old, Peggy married John B. Timberlake, a purser in the United States Navy.
Oh.
And he was Justin Timberlake's great-great-grandfather.
Nuh-uh.
No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, what? So
he said, bye.
So, okay, so she's a little...
Yeah, because by the way, he's 39 years old, okay?
Ew. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, he's 39. No. So he's age 39, and he had a reputation of being a bit of a drunk, and he was heavily in debt, and she's 17.
Well, and he's traveling around in the Navy.
Yeah. So the couple became acquainted with John Eaton in 1818, and at the time, Eaton was a wealthy 28-year-old widower, because, everybody fucking dies then. I feel like everybody's a widower.
Tuberculosis is everywhere.
Yeah.
Dysentery.
Yeah. And he was a newly elected US Senator from Tennessee, despite not having reached the constitutional mandated minimum age of 30, because he's a longtime friend of Andrew Jackson.
Oh, God. Okay, so I was like, here's this young guy that she can canoodle with while her husband's away on the Navy ship.
Yeah.
But he's with Andrew Jackson, so ew.
Yeah, he's a bit, So once Timberlake told Eaton of his financial troubles, Eaton unsuccessfully attempted to have the Senate pass legislation that would authorize payments of debts that Timberlake had and others that were in the naval service, right? Like, they come back from serving and they have all this debt. Like, we should help take care of this debt.
What's all the debt coming from?
I don't know. But he's like gambling.
He's carousing. Yeah.
So eventually Eaton paid off Timberlake's debts. Like, they become friends. He pays off his debts, and he procured him.
Does he use his wife as payment?
Oh my God, Tina, Jesus.
I mean, I'm like, is that what in his mind? He's like,
let me get through the story. Let me get through it, and you'll find out what happens.
Okay.
He pays off these debts, and he procures him a lucrative posting in the U.S. Navy's Mediterranean Squad, which of course makes people start thinking like, oh, Eaton did this to get Timberlake out of the way so that he could hit on Peggy, right? So these rumors are now going around.
And he's 28, so he's like 10 years younger than the husband.
Yes.
He's widowed.
But while Timberlake's gone, he dies. He dies April 2nd, 1828 on this Mediterranean squadron, right? And then of course this fuels those rumors again in Washington that, Eaton dies. They said that Timberlake died of like a broken heart.
Oh,
because of Peggy and John Eaton running around together.
It's all that booze and traveling that he's doing.
Yes, because the medical examiners concluded Timberlake had died of pneumonia brought on by a pulmonary disease. Like, this man is not taking care of himself. He had a problem, okay?
Oh my God.
So then Andrew Jackson's elected president in 1828, and his term begins March 4th, 1829. And he was reportedly very fond of Peggy Timberlake, who he encouraged his friend, John Eaton, go on and hit that, right? Like, come on, like, lock it down, right?
Oh,
and eventually they get together, and they were wed on January 1st, 1829.
Well, they're both widows.
Only 9 months after her husband's death.
Well, but they're both widows. So wait, how old is she now? Like, barely 20?
Yes. But customarily, it would have been considered proper for her marriage to have a longer mourning period before you get married, right? So you already have these women who don't like you. You're young. You're running around. You're playing the piano, like doing your thing.
In the bar.
You're trying to get in with this John Eaton, who people apparently respected. People liked him. He's a friend of the president, and your husband dies. Like, this is all not good for poor Peggy, right? And so, then she marries him quickly after,
I'm
right?
on Team Peggy's side.
Me too. So, historian John F. Marzalek explains his opinion on the real reasons Washington society found Peggy unacceptable. And this is a little long, but I thought it was very good. Sorry, it says, quote, She did not know her place. She forthrightly spoke up about anything that came to her mind, even topics of which women were supposed to be ignorant. She thrust herself into the world in a manner inappropriate for a woman. Except her, and society was in danger of disruption. Except this uncouth, impure, forward, worldly woman, and the wall of virtue and morality would be breached, and society would have no further defenses against the forces of frightening change. This is how he's saying the women were thinking, right? Margaret Eaton was not that important in herself. It was what she represented that constituted the threat. Proper women had no choice. They had to prevent her acceptance into society as part of their defense of that society's morality, end quote. Right? So that
breach that wall, girl.
It's to
breach that wall.
Yeah, it's a larger picture here, right? It's not just that she's it's like if we accept her, what does that say about
then all these
society?
other women are gonna be throwing themselves at our men and are gonna be talking out of turn and dear God.
Yeah. So when Jackson assumed the presidency, he appointed John Eaton as Secretary of War, right? So now he's in the cabinet.
Yeah.
He's got his young wife, right? And Floride probably, Calhoun, the second lady of the United States, her husband's the vice president, led the wives of other Washington political figures, mostly those of Jackson's cabinet members, in an anti-Peggy coalition, which served to shun the Eatons socially and publicly, which was a big deal at the time.
Yeah, like
you don't want to get shunned,
yeah.
okay? Because you're out. So the women refused to pay courtesy calls to the Eatons at their home and to receive them as visitors, and denied them invitations to parties and other social events.
That's so mean. This is like the origin of Mean Girls.
Mean Girls, yeah. Emily Donaldson, the niece of Andrew Jackson's late wife, Rachel Donaldson, and was the wife of Jackson's adopted son and confidant, Andrew Jackson Donaldson, served as Jackson's surrogate first lady, right? So Andrew Jackson's wife dies shortly after he's elected. And so this woman steps in as like the hostess of the White House, right?
Because they have to have like these events and parties, and a man can't do it.
Yes. And so she sided with the Calhoun people with this fluoride, which led Jackson to replace her with his daughter-in-law Sarah York Jackson as his official hostess, because Jackson's not having any of this bullshit.
Good.
He's like, fuck these women, right?
Yes.
And so, and he's a terrible person. Andrew Jackson's a fucking horrible racist human being, like devastated indigenous people in this country, but in this situation he's like fighting for Peggy, right? And the Secretary of State, Martin Van Buren, was a widower and the only unmarried member of the cabinet, and he raised himself in Jackson's esteem by aligning with the Eatons, okay?
Oh, good.
So Van Buren's on their side. So Jackson's sympathy for the Eatons stemmed in part from his late wife, Rachel, being the subject of innuendo during the presidential campaign when questions arose as to whether her first marriage had been legally ended before she married Jackson. So she had gone through this.
Yeah, so he's like, I know what this is about.
That's right. And
these
like,
women are
this.
trash. They're just petty.
Yes.
Petticoat Junction biatches.
Yes. Junction biatches. Either way, it's going to say bitches in our title today.
Woo!
So Jackson believed these attacks were the cause of Rachel's death on December 22nd, 1828, several weeks after his election to presidency. So he thinks this like depression, stress. Like she just fucking like gave up.
And it's, I mean, I could imagine that anyone being isolated or shunned, that's a hard thing to go through. And if people talking about you behind your back all
She's
the time,
the president's fucking wife, the president of the United States, and she
but they don't care. Those mean girls don't care.
Give a fuck. And powers everything in that town.
Like, who are they to just pass their judgment on these women?
I don't know.
Like, women, like, this is the thing. Like, women, we just need to support women. And from way back when, we have this catty bullshit.
Yeah, but the power in that city is like, it's transactional, right? And it's like who you know and who you're hanging out with and all of that. And these women at that time, that society, that was
that's their life.
That's a thing.
That's their life.
So Eaton's entry into a high-profile cabinet post helped intensify the opposition of Miss Calhoun's group, right? So people are like, go fuck yourself. This man is in the cabinet, and his wife, it's his wife. Like, you shouldn't be fucking doing this to her. And in addition, Vice President Calhoun was becoming the focal point of opposition to Jackson. So now the Vice President and the President are opposing on very important issues,
and the
so
wives are not getting
worse.
You know, so they're
not
helping the cause,
right? And the vice president.
The cause is a bad cause, though, so maybe this was a good thing.
Yeah, Calhoun's supporters opposed a second term for Jackson because they wanted Calhoun to be the vice president, right? And in addition, Jackson favored and Calhoun opposed the protective tariff that came to be known as the Tariff of Abominations. So the U.S. tariffs on imported goods generally favored northern industries by limiting competition, but Southerners opposed them because the tariffs raised the price of finished goods, but not the raw materials that were produced in the South. Okay. So the materials are down there, they're getting extra taxes and tariffs on it, and the South is providing it. It goes to the North, they're paying all those tariffs, goes to the North, and they're paying less because they're producing it.
Right.
That good, like let's say they make a dresser out of all the wood they got from the South, right? Like, so it's like they're
like, it's not fair. It's not fair.
And Jackson is a Southerner, but he's also the president, and so he's got to like oversee everything, not just favoring the South, right? Which Calhoun was like, let's go South. So the dispute over the tariff led to the nullification crisis of 1832, with Southerners, including Calhoun, arguing that states could refuse to obey federal laws to which they objected, even to the point of secession from the Union, while Jackson vowed to prevent secession and preserve the Union at any cost. Of course, this is the same thing we hear today.
I mean,
Texas is always like, I'm leaving.
I know.
Get the fuck out. Then get out. You don't fucking like it, then get the fuck out. We're going to succeed.
Like whiny babies with their threats, with empty threats.
No, who needs you?
I know.
Get the...
What is that? I mean, what is Texas giving us?
Okay, yeah, please. By the way, another rolling blackout this winter.
Yeah.
They just had another rolling blackout. Remember I covered that last year?
Yeah, and we don't need...
In the freezing, people are freezing the fuck to death in their houses.
And we don't need your oil.
Oh, please. So, because Calhoun was the most visible opponent of the Jackson administration, Jackson felt that Calhoun and other anti-Jackson officials were fanning the flames of the Peggy Eaton controversy in an attempt to gain political leverage. It gets into this whole thing, which I've read several times, and I'm not really going to get into. But basically, there was an invasion in Florida. It was the Seminole Wars, 1818, and Jackson led that invasion. So something happened there, and Calhoun was also there, and they were supposed to send letters, or something didn't get sent, and Calhoun basically throws Jackson under the bus during this whole controversy. Like, he should have done XYZ, and he didn't do it. And so Jackson, of course, fucking flips out, and he's like, how could you throw me under the bus like that? Right. Like, it's just getting worse and worse and worse, right?
So the tensions are rising between
them. And things are getting printed in the paper, and it's just like conspiracy theories. It just enrages the president, and he's like, fuck all of this. I'm done with this, right? Like, fuck Calhoun. So the dispute was finally resolved when Van Buren offered to resign, giving Jackson the opportunity to reorganize his cabinet by asking for the resignations of the anti-Eaton cabinet members.
Ooh.
So Postmaster General William T. Berry was the lone cabinet member to stay. You know, the guy's like, I'm just trying to deliver the fucking mail around here. I got people going out west on horses with fucking bags of letters.
About the drama.
Yeah. And so Eaton eventually received a different appointment that took him away from Washington, at first as governor of Florida Territory, and then as minister to Spain. And on June 17th, the day before Eaton formally resigned, a story appeared in the Telegraph stating that it had been, quote, proven that the families of Ingham, these are cabinet members, Ingham Branch and Attorney General John Berrien, had refused to associate with Mr. Eaton. So Eaton reads this and he's like, these motherfuckers, right? So he writes a letter to all three men demanding that they answer for this article. And Ingham sent back a contemptuous letter stating that while he was not the source of the article, the information was fucking true.
Oh,
right?
Dang.
And so then on June 18th, Eaton challenged Ingham to a duel. Through Eaton's brother-in-law, Dr. Philip G. Randolph. Yeah. And he visited Ingham twice, and the second time he threatened him with personal harm if he did not comply with Eaton's demands. And Randolph was dismissed, and the next morning Ingham sent a note to Eaton discourteously declining the invitation and describing the situation as one of, quote, pity and contempt, unquote, which Eaton's like, don't you fucking pity me, motherfucker, right?
Let's go.
So Eaton wrote a letter.
Get your sword, get your pistol.
So Eaton then writes another letter to Ingham accusing him of cowardice, and then Ingham was then informed that Eaton, Randolph, and others were looking to assault him. Ooh. So he reported that the next 2 nights, Eaton and his men continued to lurk about his dwelling and threaten him, like he couldn't leave the house. And then he left, somehow he gets out, he leaves the city, and he returns to his home, wherever that was, right? And he communicated to Jackson. Ingham sent a message to Jackson, the president, and he's telling him what happened. And so Jackson asked Eaton to explain himself, and Eaton admitted that he, quote, passed by the place where Ingham was fenced in.
I was just walking by.
He said, but at no point did I attempt to enter or besiege him, end quote. So the aftermath. In 1832, Jackson nominated Van Buren as minister to Great Britain, and Calhoun killed the nomination with a tie-breaking vote. Like, it was still happening, all this stuff. And Calhoun
only made drama.
Yeah. And then, however, he only made Van Buren seem the victim of petty politics, which were rooted in this Eaton controversy, right? And that made people feel bad for Van Buren, which then raised Van Buren up in political society and in Jackson's esteem. So Van Buren then succeeded Calhoun as the vice president when Jackson wins his second term in 1832, and he's like, "Oh, Van Buren, come on with me," right? So he then makes Van Buren the de facto heir to the presidency, who succeeded Jackson in 1837. All of this had an effect on that.
Just because these women are bitches.
Yes.
Oh my God! You know, the Calhoun must have been like, "Damn it, honey!
Yeah,
couldn't you just had her over for tea one time?
Just fucking sit there and stare at her. Give her the stink guy. Give her that fucking stink guy, but just let her come over." So Calhoun, of course, resigns as vice president shortly before the end of his term, and he returns with his wife to South Carolina, where our friend Strom Thurmond is from. And he's quickly elected to the US Senate. He returns to Washington not as a national leader with presidential prospects, but as a regional leader who argued in favor of states' rights and the expansion of slavery.
God, it's just
states' rights. That's another word of saying I'm in favor of slavery.
Yeah.
So, in regard to the Petticoat Affair, Jackson later remarked, quote, "I would rather have live vermin on my back than the tongue of one of these Washington women on my reputation."
Oh, dang, these women are harsh.
This is the president, I'm not even scared of another country. I'm scared of the women in this fucking city.
That is the best quote.
Yeah.
Wow.
So to Jackson, Peggy Eaton was just another one of many wronged women whom over his lifetime he had known and defended, and he believed that every woman he had defended in his life, including her, had been the victim of ulterior motives so that political enemies could bring him down.
Damn.
Yeah. So here's something else, a little bit of a wrap up on Peggy, which I found very sad, but was like, I can't even, I was watching a YouTube video about her, and the guy who's doing this whole history thing about her, he says this thing at the end, and I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, no, Peggy!
Oh,
so, 3 years after the death of her second husband, John Eaton, Margaret Eaton married Antonio Gabriele Bucanani.
Oh, okay.
I hope I'm saying that right.
He's Italiano.
He's Italiano. Oh my God. He's an Italian. He teaches
now he has a good. Now she has a good marriage, a good food. Wow.
Oh, Tina, don't speak so soon, Tina. I'm so sorry to have to tell you that this man, he's not a very good man, Tina. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Damn these Italians.
He was probably incredibly fucking handsome, Italian men, Tina.
Yes.
Fuck. Ooh. So he was an Italian music teacher and dancing master.
Oh.
On June 7th, they got married on June 7th, 1859. She was 59 and he was in his mid-20s.
Hi.
Red flags.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry, but a dancing master to me is a red flag too.
I know.
He could probably fuck, but you don't want him hanging around. This is not...
To be 59 back then and get this young boy?
Bitch.
Nice little Italian boy? Come on.
So the marriage, of course, reignites this social stigma on Margaret that she had carried her entire life.
Because she can get some young honey and none of you old ladies can get anything in your petticoats.
Tina, that's a controversy today. This is 1859. If I were to start banging someone in her early 20s, people would be like, Hillary's fucking out of her mind. She's crazy. But I'd be like, what's up? Yeah. But no, but 1859.
Let's go, Peggy.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Oh, no.
So in 1866...
Did he scam her? Was he some kind of scam artist?
In 1866, the 7th year of their marriage, Bucanani ran off to Europe with the bulk of her fortune, as well as, hold on to it, her 17-year-old granddaughter. Emily
no!
Randolph.
No!
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, that's gotta hurt.
This granddaughter is a bit of a fucking traitor.
Yeah. Well, she's living it up in Italy. She's got a bunch of money.
So
a young Italian.
He ends up marrying this granddaughter after he and Margaret divorced in 1869.
What?
And although Margaret Eaton obtained a divorce from Bucanani, she was not able to recover her financial standing.
Oh, because she's a woman and it belongs to him.
And she dies in poverty.
No!
In Washington, D.C.
And the granddaughter's living it up in Italy. Can't even send her any damn nothing? Wow.
This bitch.
Wow.
And your enemies are in the house. They're the closest ones to you. She dies in poverty in Washington, D.C. on November 8th, 1879, and she was buried at Oak Hill Cemetery. And my last bit, because we got to wrap this up, we got to do a little muck, is that there was a movie made about this in 1936. It was called The Gorgeous Hussy.
Oh.
And it's a fictional account of Petticoat Affair.
No,
I tell you, like, I read
the gorgeous
Hussy, and there's a movie poster which I have in our pictures this week. I read the whole like plot of the movie, and it's like all the same characters. It's like in and out, but it's like these men come in and out of her life, and it's like she's with this guy, but he dies, and he's with this guy. She loves this guy, but he dies at war, and it's like a roller coaster.
I would love to see how they portray her. Like,
you've got to see this. It's incredible. But she was beautiful. Like, they have a painting of her on a cigar box. Like, somebody used her image. She was fucking stunning. And, you look at some of those paintings, you're like,
yeah.
And you should see it fluoride. I got a picture of her, too. She looks like a nun. Like, she's all covered up like this.
That's why.
And this one's like, this gorgeous hussy's like, yo, bitch, here's me on the piano.
You know what? It's better to be
a
gorgeous hussy than an old biddy like that one.
I mean, they couldn't take it.
Look at her living her life.
Yeah, so the movie features Joan Crawford as Peggy O'Neill. Yeah. Robert Taylor as John Timberlake, Lionel Barrymore as Andrew Jackson.
Oh my god!
And Franchot Tone as John Eaton.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know Lionel Barrymore, and I know, of course, Joan Crawford.
Yeah.
Wow.
Incredible, right?
Wow.
I know. So that's just the Petticoat Affair, my love.
Oh my god. The ending.
I know.
Oh, she got bamboozled.
Oh my
bamboozled
god.
by what? Bugatali? What was it?
Bukanani?
Bukanani. Bamboozled by Bukanani. That's not right.
Bamboozled. Oh, god damn it. I'm writing it down. Bamboozled by Bukanani.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
What a story.
I know.
What a story.
But even so, it was funny because the video was like the Real Housewives of the White House, and I was like,
it's
"This is
just
so
interesting
good."
that I wonder if some of the men, also played, like you said, like played this role of like whispering in their wife's ear, like, "We need you."
Social standing is a thing.
And some of those ladies are like, "I can be a bitch, like whatever, like I don't
give a shit."
But this
is also what it was like during like the Tudor
and they're probably
era.
Older, and they probably just are resentful of this young, beautiful girl.
Yeah. And Eaton, he's 28. He's a senator way before he's supposed to be.
Oh my god. Let them live their lives.
No.
God.
It's all about power and your standing. Like I was saying, like in the Tudor era of like.
Oh, I just want to like run around with a petticoat.
Yeah, I would like to run around with a petticoat. I don't know.
I just feel like it would be like.
Yeah.
But did they have? Oh, maybe the little pantaloons
I think it's
are the like pants that are underneath the petticoat.
I was thinking that too. And a hoop skirt. I'm here for a fucking hoop skirt.
Oh my god.
Bitch.
Okay, so this is our next Josh.
Yes.
Cartoon something cute of us in petticoats.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to go because we are going to record a little muck that will come out on February 11th on Friday.
Very excited.
And it's going to be with our good friend Emmanuel George. He's back again.
Back again.
He has so many amazing things, and he's got a documentary coming out the February 18th, and I think also the 25th or the 24th.
Yeah.
And that you can see here in Broward County, and it's documenting the history of Attucks Middle School and all of the black community, the historic black community in South Florida.
It's amazing.
So we're going to talk to him about that and everything he's working on. He's so amazing. I just can't wait to talk to him. We are late. We've got to call him.
Yes.
So, Emmanuel George, pick up the phone. We're about to call. And goodbye, everybody. See you next week.
Yes. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.